Hold on a second. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Brad Despite Fitness, and today we're in the garage doing some training. Today is May 10th, and we are doing a heavier squat day. The squat variation today is a good morning. So not really a squat, but I like the way that it feels, and you know, we're hitting that that posterior chain real good. We're gonna move up to a heavy triple today on the good mornings, and then the winning warm up. We're gonna do, I'm reading the board, looking off camera here. Sled pull, we're gonna do 4 plates today with the sled pull. We're doing leg extensions, leg curls, and seated row. So you can see the heavy emphasis on the leg training. And then I wanna make sure we're working a little bit of back stuff too. So throwing back variations into the day is pretty critical. I have a feeling that the 4 plate sled pull is gonna wreck feelings today. But that's what we're up to. We're gonna get in, we're gonna do the warm up, so check that out. And then, like I said, we're gonna do some good mornings. So if you're not familiar with that workout, we're gonna talk about it a little bit too, and I'll show you the setup and kind of talk it through, so that hopefully if it's a workout that you're unfamiliar with, maybe you'll get some familiarity and use it in your own routine. So with that, let's go ahead and get after it, and we'll see you on the other side. What do you think? What do you think about the 100 pounds?
100, wait, 100 pounds?
The 100 pounds that's on there.
That's not 100 pounds.
That's 100 pounds.
Nuh-uh.
Oh no, it's not 100 pounds.
No, liar.
We'll treat it like it's 100 pounds.
Stop being.
It's 180 pounds.
I'm getting it. Trying.
I don't know why I was thinking like 4 plates. 100, I don't know, it's just dumb. I was not thinking. What are you stopping for? There's no stopping.
I'm not stopping.
There's no brakes. Okay, so we're getting set up here with the good mornings. And so Seth, run us through where you're at for your setup here.
I mean, you want your feet just about where you do with your squat. I get a little bit wider than shoulder width. Nice, steady bar. Bend at the waist. Chest out, touch, and up.
All right, cool. Cool. So for you guys at home, what we're doing to kind of help ourselves with a little bit of a cue, as you can see, we have the strap. So I'm having them come down to the strap and having it there also as kind of a safety feature. That way we don't have to worry about anyone dropping and failing or whatever. Seth, he was saying shoulder width on the feet position. I tend to go maybe even just a little bit more narrow on my foot position. Just understand wherever you kind of elect for your foot position, it's gonna subtly change how it affects the muscle groups, right? So if you tend to go a little bit wider on your foot position with a good morning, it's gonna kind of work more of the inside of the posterior chain, right? So more the inner portion of the thigh and hamstring. And if you go a little bit more narrow, you're gonna bring more of the outer hamstring into it, just kind of by virtue of how the muscles work. But it is good to kind of vary up the foot position too. I wouldn't vary up the foot position in this particular workout, set by set by set, but I might vary it up workout by workout. So maybe one workout have a more of a narrower position, and another workout do more of a wide position. and just kind of change that up. But tend to keep the bar kind of high on the shoulders, more of the high bar position. That way it just increases the moment arm and just makes it a little bit more difficult as you bend. And then, you know, ensuring that good strong brace, right? So maintaining that abdominal brace is gonna be hyper important here. I wouldn't recommend going very heavy on good mornings without a belt, just so that you can make sure that you maintain that abdominal pressure. And then you always wanna make sure that you control the bar too. So make sure that you're actively gripping that bar and pulling it down, because as you're bending forward, you can have a tendency to lose control of the bar and have that bar right up the back of your neck, which is unpleasant. So that's what we have for the setup. We're working with a squat bar today, so we can see we have this big center knurl for us to have that grip on the back, as well as, you know, some room for me and my shoulders, be able to have that wide grip position. Although with the straps here, I may elect to go more narrow than I would ordinarily prefer, just so that my arms don't get in the way of the straps. Bend down, touch the strap, and back up. Again, going for a heavy triple today. So we'll see how that goes. Haven't stereotypically gone super heavy on good mornings in a very long time. I do remember in my youth, you know, getting up into the 600-pound range with good mornings, but that was, you know, back when I was like 19, 20. So I don't know what today will yield. I just do the best we can and get after it. So the setup is the way we want it now, and it's just a matter of adding the weight. So let's get after it. Here we go.
As the competition, but if you go against me, you the opposition. But if you wanna test to look like you can close the distance, I'ma give it A forever since you're so persistent. With you, I'm just practicing, cause I'm back to back, let's get back to winning. As a matter of fact, I'm not that forgiving, cause you did this to yourself, that's a bad decision. I don't see no one in front of me, you is a ghost, you ain't got a soul. Whoa, always say that they gon' come for me, knowing they won't, they doing the most. Whoa, chasing my, gotta get already, not selling my, you on the, y'all moving, ready to, whoa.
All right, what's going on, guys? This is the end of the video, right? So wanted to make sure that we kind of wrap this down. There's a few points that happened I want to kind of articulate. So we did good mornings today, and so it's a movement that maybe not a lot of people do. It's certainly not one that I see done very frequently in gyms and things like that, but it's a really great workout for developing that posterior strength. And we kind of stumbled on that right at the beginning when you made mention that you're like, holy shit, I'm weak.
Yeah, I mean, good mornings I'm used to like a set of 15, a set of 12, and it's kind of like, almost like a pull-up, where, you know, number 6 is real good, and then number 7 you're like, oh, I'm not going nowhere.
Yeah, and we hit a wall. So it is a really good workout, and is a really good way of developing some posterior strength. I do have to give you a word of caution though. If it's a movement that you're wholly unfamiliar with, I would recommend just kind of starting really light, building up some familiarity with the movement before you get too heavy. So what we did today with going for a heavier triple is maybe not the best thing that I could have done with Nat, you know, all things being equal, because this is probably the first time we've done a good morning, right? Second time. So second time ever doing good mornings, we took her to a heavy triple. Maybe not the best course of action, but, you know, for you that are at home and maybe you're on a different kind of a training program, or you have more time and space, maybe it would be more optimal to take more time and build up strength with it slowly, dealing with say 15s or 10s, and just ever so slightly week by week, moving the weight up versus getting too heavy right out the gate. So we noticed a couple of things with the good mornings, right? So you had one kind of an issue and you had another kind of an issue. So I want to talk about that too, kind of capture that, so that you guys kind of have maybe some tips on the best performance of the movement, right? So ideally, the upper body stays fairly static, right? And by static, I mean it's not moving around. Once it's locked in, it's locked in. And you go through the motion, right? So push those hips back, bend at the waist, you know, get to about parallel or so, and then back up. You want to make sure that upper back is locked tight. and you want to make sure that all the movement is happening at the hips, basically through the hips, and then bending at the waist. What we had is Seth, when he was doing one of his sets, he basically turned it into a squat. So in the desire to get the depth that's necessary, he wanted to go low, but what he was trying to do is basically subconsciously protect himself and not kind of extend himself out over his toes, because that can be kind of a precarious position to be in when you have weight sitting essentially on your neck. So he wanted to go through the range of motion, but knew that he wasn't feeling so comfortable. So instead of continuing to lean forward, he basically started bending at the knees and performing a squat. So we touched on that, talked about how to kind of brace and best protect himself. We also lowered the strap, so it wasn't something that we were trying to reach, but rather that they're there as a catch-all in the event of a failure or whatever. So when we did that, he started performing the movement much better. And then Nat had an issue where she was moving a little bit more in that thoracic. So as she bent, right, so instead of keeping that chest high and that back locked in and going through the range of motion like this, what she started to do was cave, right? So giving up position to that thoracic spine, which is not what we want. And again, it was in an effort to try to get the depth that she wanted, right? So she wanted to get a little bit more range of motion, but she started giving up that position in that thoracic. Well, clearly, if you start giving up and creating motion in that thoracic when you're loaded with a couple hundred pounds or whatever, more weight than you would normally have, let's just say that, it opens up the door for a potential injury, especially when you're creating motion and movement in that thoracic spine with that moment arm loaded. There's just a high potential for injury. So really don't want to create any movement with that thoracic. We want to make sure that upper back remains locked tight. One of the things that I think helps me, and just food for thought for you guys, is my positioning. So a lot of people talk, when they talk squats, they talk about packing in, getting your arms as close as possible to create a nice tight shelf. Well, so what I want you to pay attention to as I do this is watch what happens with my chest. So if I'm packed in like this versus if I move my arms out. So do you see what happened with my chest? So packed in versus moving my arms out, right? So moving my arms out automatically lifts my chest. And so what I'm thinking about when I do my good mornings is I'm thinking about keeping that chest high and back. One, it'll help me control any potential motion that I get in that thoracic spine by mitigating that. And then two, it helps me with bar control, so that if I start to cave in that thoracic, it creates a low point, and the bar, just like water, wants to run to the low point. So it helps me with bar control as well. So just a couple of quick tips of things that I saw with the lifters today that may provide some measure of benefit for you in consideration for the performance of the movement in your own training methodology or your own training program. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of illuminate the good morning, talk about what we did, and then give you some kind of tips on the backside. So hopefully you guys will be a little bit more proficient with the performance of the movement. And again, this is a really, really great movement that I highly recommend. It's very beneficial for increasing your squat, very beneficial for increasing your deadlift as well, by helping to put a little extra emphasis on that posterior chain. Anything from you guys? Anything else to add?
No.
I kind of ran away with the end of it, didn't I?
No, you didn't.
I got to talking.
You did good.
All right. Yeah, so anyway, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop in the chat box below. I will respond. And if you have any other questions about the good morning that I might be able to help out with, I'd be glad to. And yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. I appreciate everything that you guys do for the channel and continue to support me with all the likes, the shares, the subs. It means the world. Channel continues to grow, and I really do appreciate it. If you happen to know anyone else whom these videos might also benefit that I don't know, I would appreciate if maybe you send them a link or show it to them. Whatever. You got a buddy over at the house, pull up one of the videos and show it to them. That'd be great. MPs are rolling by slow. I think so.
Twice.
That's twice now. I think he's after us.
Oh no.
He's after
Run away.
He's after these gains. You can't have these gains, dog.
No, you can't.
Yeah, speaking of gains, you got to get in and train to spike, guys. You're either going to find an excuse, you're going to find a way, and I hope that you guys continue to find the way. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.
I listen to G, yeah.